Hello people, I'm Jaby Koay, joined by ACHARA KIRK.
Hi.
We're going to talk about the movie ARUVI, directed and written by Arun Prabu Purushothaman. I decided to try braving that name. I'm pretty sure I said it horribly. The IMDb one-liner: a gentle girl born and brought up amidst the ever-growing eco-social consumeristic environment finds it difficult to fit into society. She decides to take it hard on the people. What she does is the rest of the story. It's kind of an oddly written last line, but that does communicate general ideas of what happened here. I'm gonna try my best to not spoil this too much. There will be some spoilers just to be able to communicate our opinions. Nothing too major. ARUVI is a film that in my opinion is flawed, but very much worth watching because of what it's saying. It actually says a lot of things. We're talking about big farm, corporate medicine, transgendered phobia and prejudice, rape culture, the disingenuousness of TV show hosts, society at large.
Even prejudice at large.
Victim shaming when it comes to rape. There's so much that the film talks about and it compacts it into 2 hours. It's kind of amazing that it managed to talk about so much. It also addresses things that we kind of take for granted and just buy into as consumers. We don't even take a second thought to consider. And what forces ARUVI, our main character, to discuss these things, I can't go into without ruining the film, but just know that there is a thing in the movie that makes her realize all these notions and deep dive into these philosophies. The way it comes out is very powerful. It's like in these short, kind of very powerful scenes. Following that, there are these other scenes where a lot of nothing is happening, and I'm not sure why the movie did that. It's like that first hour was so solid, and then the second hour I was like, I think I understand why this movie's doing this, but I'm not entirely sure. It kind of dives into a little bit of Stockholm Syndrome, I think is what the film is exploring a little bit. It's either that or forgiveness. I know that this sounds super ambiguous, but it's because I want you guys to watch the movie if you haven't already. I do think it's worth checking out.
My biggest takeaway was that it was a really great message movie.
Yeah.
All those things that you just said that it touched upon, I think that's great. I think it's something that deserves examination and discussion, and it is the sort of movie that you will watch and afterwards you will have those discussions with your friends and family. For that reason alone, this is well worth giving it a watch.
I decided to watch my trailer reaction to ARUVI again to see what my initial thoughts were when I first got exposed to the story. There are some things that happen in the trailer that indicate a different kind of film after like allowing it to kind of simmer and reflect on it. I think I know why the director decided to market the film that way. I don't think he tried to mislead people. I think he tried to communicate an idea. One specific notion is that she's got these glasses and she was holding like an automatic rifle of some kind.
Yeah.
She doesn't have a rifle in this movie, just spoiler alert. I think the idea was to communicate a certain bravado about her, which she does exude in the film, but she doesn't ever become like Che Rivera. She's just this girl who gets in a situation that is kind of in over her head. It feels so real, and I think that's what's refreshing about the film is just how real it is, at least to a certain point. There are certain areas where I'm like, yeah, that's theater, but it's still interesting. The very first, I'd say, 15 minutes of the movie is going into ARUVI growing up. We see like just how innocent she was, her love for her father and her relationship with him, how she ends up on this other path. So those first 20 minutes was almost like a Terrence Malick film in a way. His most famous recent one, I think, is Tree of Life, in that you're following these kids as they age. You see them come into adulthood, if I remember the film correctly. I like the way they did it here better because it was very, very fast-paced, taking you through her life from a very, very young age up into being a young woman. And then it switches. She goes on a news program to talk about something that happened to her. And that's when it becomes like The Network. That's what ARUVI reminds me of more than anything else, is The Network. It's a film from the 70s about the disingenuousness of news organizations in general. That's what ARUVI explores. You have this woman who's hosting this TV show and she genuinely just doesn't give a shit about what's going on, but she has to pretend to because she's a woman of the people. That kind of goes awry. It strays off into this other section of the film, basically showing the ugliness of the news reporters and whatnot and the media in general. And that's when it starts to remind me of Mad City. That movie is all about the craziness of the news media and whatnot.
Oh, okay.
And then we go back into Tree of Life for the last 20 minutes of the movie.
That's a lot of very different references.
Yeah, that's the thing. ARUVI is like several different films compressed into 2 hours. And in that regard, I respect it. I think that's very interesting. The film goes through all these different areas. I just wish that the last hour was compressed a lot more. That's me. I know that, most people who watch the film loved it. They loved everything about it and they thought it was perfect and it was a breath of fresh air all around.
I certainly feel like it was a breath of fresh air though, because I feel like this type of movie is very rare in India. And I think the topics that it's talking about is something that not many people, filmmakers or whatever, have the courage to approach.
Yes, I mean, it's also not something that easily sells tickets either.
That's true.
I would strongly recommend it. I think it's really fascinating. It's a fascinating look at all the different aspects of society and what makes us us, and what makes a person, and why they do the things they do, and why we carry the prejudices that we do, and why we look at people the way we do and keep them at arm's length the way we do.
So much of the entertainment that we watch nowadays is reality television.
Yeah.
And it's reality, but it's really not. It's so fabricated, and like that director was doing in the movie, they're literally just cannibalizing human experiences and emotions.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, oh, she's about to have a breakdown, instead of, you know, like, hey, do you need some help?
Yeah.
Are you okay? It's like,
Yeah.
quick, make sure there's like 3 cameras on her from 3 different angles, because she's about to go crazy. It's all about to like pop off right now.
Right. That's a lot of our television, our daytime television over here. It's kind of sad. With everything the film was expressing, I very much appreciated it. I enjoyed it a lot, and I would recommend it. Anyways, you guys, thanks so much for hanging out with us. Please be sure to check out ACHARA KIRK on the social media. Subscribe to the channel. I'm Jaby Koay. This is
ACHARA KIRK.
Peace out.